All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the January Reading Wrap-Up Live Show. These are my favorite ways to do wrap-ups now, talking to other people about the books that they read and being able to express the way that, I feel about the books that I read. So do you want to do some introductions? We'll start with Keisha.
Sure. Hey, my name is Keisha. I'm from the channel A Book Like You. I read a lot of mysteries and thrillers and spooky middle grade books and other things as well. I read a little bit of everything, but yeah, that's me.
Hello, everyone. I'm Elise over at A Virgo Rising Reads. I read a little bit of everything. I think probably the one I stay away from the most is YA, but I'll read that sometimes too. So,
yeah.
Well, I'm Kendall. I'm from Bookphoria. I'm like them. I kind of read a little bit of everything, but most of the time I'm reading fantasy. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's your thing.
I was like, I'm trying to get more into thrillers, but it's usually just fantasy.
I love that for you, though. It
Yeah.
makes it easy. Is it fantasy? Okay, then I'll read it. Is it not?
Yeah.
Okay, then I'm not
There we
gonna
go.
read it. I
Yeah.
love that. So all of their channels and Instagrams are linked in the description box. Make sure you're following all of them. Also, if you want to be a guest on one of these reading wrap-up live shows, I have like a quick, like less than 2-minute form that you can fill out just to let me know that you want to be on one of these shows. So what about Goodreads reading goals? Do you guys set those? What's your number that you're hoping to hit this year? And are you on track with what you read in January so far to hit that goal?
Yeah, so I set my goal every year. I always set it at 50, and that's just to kind of make myself feel good when I hit 50 because I'm always expected to read more. And so I'll bump it up from 50 to 75 to 100. But my overall goal usually is to read 100 books in a year. And according to Goodreads, I'm on track. So,
Yeah.
I was a little ambitious this year. I set mine for 144
Ooh.
so that I could get an average of 12 a month. Yeah, I don't know why I did that.
What was your Goodreads goal last year?
It was 100, but then once I
Okay.
got to 100, I stopped. So I
Okay.
could have gotten more, but right now I'm 3 behind schedule.
Okay.
Well, I set mine at 100, which is a little bit more than I normally read a year, but I think I'm 2 books behind schedule. So, hoping I
That's
can.
not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
I feel like there's seasons where we tend to read more. Is that the case for you guys? Like I definitely read.
yeah.
I read a lot in January because I'm like, it's the brand new year. You have to read a lot
Yeah.
of books. But then I
Mhm.
kind of like slack off, and then it's the summer. I read a lot in the summer.
Same.
What
I
about
do
you guys?
too.
See, I'm the
Yeah.
opposite. I don't read as much in the summer. I guess it's because I want to be outside. And even though I can take a book outside, I don't know. I'd just
Yeah.
rather be doing something active. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
What
me,
about?
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. What about you guys?
Definitely a lot in the summer for me, and I think probably because I like to go for walks on my lunch break, and I'll just pop in an audiobook and walk for an hour, so that helps me a lot.
Yeah.
And no
I'm
school
about the
for you,
same.
Kendall, right? Or do you go to
Yeah.
school in the summer?
Well, yeah, I did. Usually I take like a class or two in the summer
Mm-hmm.
online, but they're not that bad. It's usually like getting introductory kind of classes in. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully it won't be too bad this summer and I'll get to read a lot too.
Yeah, I remember I would try to take some classes in the summer because like it would be like a 12-week class was reduced to like 6 or 8 weeks. And I was
Yep.
like, I can do it. Let's
Yep.
do it. So, let's get these
Definitely.
credits going. Oh, let's get through some of these comments real quick. Hello, Danielle. I'm so glad all my friends are here. Hello. Hey, Gabby. Yeah, we have some great books to talk about. Hello, everybody. Hey, Marcy and Marisol. Everybody is here. Thank you. This is like the oversized sweater of my dreams. I love it. 150 for the year and 10 a month. 2 behind. You can do it, Jesse. Less in the summer. Okay. Well, I go to the beach a lot in the summer and I always take a book with me. So I will sit there for like 5 hours on the beach reading a book.
that's good.
So, spring last year was rough for me. I feel like because at the beginning of the year, you're so go, go, go. And then by springtime, you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Then I skipped this 100 for the year, way more in the summer last year. Yeah. Hello, Liv. Oh, thanks. Okay, so I set my goal at 100 books. Obviously, I did way more than that last year. But that was the first year I ever set mine at 100 books. So I figured I usually set it at 52, kind of like Keisha. But I do 52 for like one a week type thing. And then Jordan was the one that was like, no, Gwen, no, you cannot do 52 anymore. You have to do 100. So I did 100 and I surpassed that. But I'm like, I'm just going to go with 100 again because I'm nervous if I set it for more than 100 that I won't hit it for some reason.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, it's not a big deal, but it would be a big deal. Like, yeah, it would be a big deal. More during the summer, off work, 75 for the year, 100. I am a people watcher too, Marcy. I really, really am. I love watching people. Always set my goal at 50, even though you surpass it. Goal is 100, 75, 12.
Wow.
Ooh, look at you, Gabby. I love that. 75. You read over 100. Yep. No pressure. So how many books did you read so far this month? We still have a couple days. We have the rest of tonight. We have Monday. We have Tuesday. But how many so far?
I've read 8 so far.
And any good ones in there that you're excited to talk about tonight?
Oh yeah. Y'all are gonna hear it. Oh,
okay,
gosh.
good.
8 for me as well.
Nice.
Woohoo.
I've only read 5.
But yours are like, your books are big, right? They're fantasy. They're longer.
Weren't some of them Harry Potter?
So, well, no. It's a lot. It's a lot to explain. But there are big ones, but again, I think I'm in the middle of a few right now that are big, so I'm hoping to wrap them up within the next few days. So
yeah,
I want to know how many books Kendall is in the middle of right now.
Probably 20.
I've got it down to 2. I'm proud of
Okay.
myself. Only in the middle of 2 right now.
That's good. Yeah, it does take a while for those longer. I was talking to Taya on one of my recent podcast episodes, and she was saying that she's stretching Babel out over the year. She's like, I'm not sitting down to read this book in one sitting. And I was like, you know what? That's so smart because I usually am intimidated by longer books. And I was like, why do I feel the pressure to just read it in like that one sitting before picking up anything else? So I applaud you, Kendall, for just saying like, I'm taking my time. I'm reading these 2 books and I'm picking up other books as well. So
Yeah.
good for you. But I did read some like longer books this month, which I'm proud, like over 400 pages, but I consider that long.
That's long.
Yeah. Because I like 300 pages or less.
Yeah.
So I did read a few over 400 pages. So I was proud of myself. So I read 20 so far. I haven't decided if I'm going to read. We're not going to shame people, Keisha. Okay. If you read one book or no books or 100 books, we're not shaming people. Okay.
I'm just jealous.
I know. But I haven't decided if I want to try to like read one more because I still have like a few days or if I just want to take a break. I haven't decided, so we'll see.
Is there one you're looking at that you might start?
Well, a couple. I have a couple short ones. Let me see. Because I have them on audio on Libby. Migrations by Charlotte McConaughey. I'm not sure how to say the last name. That one, Sourdough by Robin Sloan, which is the same author of the Mr. Penumbrum's 24-Hour Bookstore. Or Set on You by Amy Lee, which that would be like starting my February TBR early.
Yeah. I know you really liked Mr. Penumbra, so you might really like Sourdough too. And is that a novella or is it just short?
It's just short.
Okay.
I don't know how many pages it is, but the audiobook for it is 7 hours.
Oh, that's not bad.
So if I bump it up on 2 times speed, like, so maybe I'll do that. Let's see. Yes, Bessie. 9 books. Getting ready for February. I know February is going to be crazy too. 14. Ooh, I'm so happy you're reading A History of Wild Places. I got that recommendation from Keisha. She was like, just give it a chance. I was like, all right.
And you loved it.
and I loved it. It was on my best books of last year. Like,
Oh yeah.
who would have thought?
See,
Not
I didn't even
me.
love it that much. I gave it 4 stars, but it was not a best book for me. So.
I loved it. The atmosphere, the writing, the
Now you need to read
story,
The
and the
Wicked.
plot, and the characters, and like, oh, it was so good. Yes, I'm gonna get on it. I promise.
Kendall can get on you too because she's read it and
Yeah.
liked it. So she can tell you.
It was good.
Yeah, and
Really
I
good.
just the most shocking thing about it is that I spoiled like. So Lena heard me talking about it and she was like, would I like this book? And I was like, I don't know, Jessie, would she like this book? So we started discussing it and Jessie's like, I am not reading this because it's, like cultish vibes or whatever. And Jessie doesn't like cultish books. And she's like, just tell me everything. Let's talk about it. Spoilers, everything. And I literally spoiled the entire book, plot twists, everything. And she was like, I want to read it now. I was like, Jessie, no, you weren't supposed to read this. She knew the whole book, read it, rated it 5 stars.
Wow.
So that's saying
awesome.
something, in my
Yeah.
opinion. So I hope you love it too. On a plane home, about to depart. Oh, bye, Yvette. Safe travels. 17 so far, but I'm cursed and can't get a 5-star.
Oh gosh, that's a bummer.
It's going to happen soon. In the next 3
Yeah.
books, I predict this for you. Well, so what is your how do you decide what's the first book you're going to read in a year? Because I always reread a favorite book. That way I'm guaranteed a good time. So that's what I did this year is I reread It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, rated it 5 stars the first time, rated it 5 stars the second time.
Yeah. I don't know if I have like a specific formula for how I pick a book. I think it's just whatever I'm most excited about. This year, my first book was reading an author that's a new favorite. And I think last year, I know I always read Shay Earnshaw's books in January, but I can't remember if it's ever the first, but I'm sure some years it has been. One year it was Jennifer McMahon. So I don't really know I don't know. It's just whatever I'm feeling, I guess. But those have tended to be favorite authors. So
Nice. So favorite author, that's a good way to choose.
I don't really have a method either. This year it was an 𝒖arc just because it came out in January and I really needed to get it read. So
Yeah.
Mine was this year. I kind of went with a fantasy book, but I hadn't read a fantasy book in a long time. Last year because I was trying to get into so many other genres and I had a good time, but I was like, I'm gonna make sure that I'm adding like a fantasy so that I'm not leaving them out. So I'm doing that every month.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, last year I feel like I read more different genres than I have any year previously. And, thrillers are like my diehard favorite. And I was like, I didn't actually read that many thrillers. And that really bothered me. So I was like, I really need to make them a priority this year. But hopefully it's coming soon, Jordan. 30% left of another. And we'll see if I finish House of Earth and Blood by the end of the month. Nice. 18 read, 1 DNF. Oh, so did anybody have any DNFs this month?
I did.
Yeah. Oh, look at Kendall. Kendall's like, nope.
I'm like, no. I had a soft DNF.
Okay.
That's me.
I'm not getting rid of it, but it's just not the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Elise? Is yours a permanent DNF? Yeah.
Yeah. Wistress and The Vanishing Half.
Okay. Yeah, I am DNFing. I was really excited about this book. It's Locust Lane. It's like a new one that came out. I love this cover so much and it sounds really good. And I think a lot of readers would love this book. It's just not the book for me. It's a little too slow and I like my books a little bit more fast paced. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time, when I could be reading other books. So I got rid of that one. 7 books. Babel took me a while. 9 books. No problem. 6th working on 7th. 10 so far. 13 books. Yes. I was shocked because I think so many people were pitching it weird. They were saying it was like fantasy and, Kendall, I'm not a fantasy reader. They were saying like magical realism and I really don't like magical realism. They weren't talking about the good stuff. So I'm glad I took a chance on it. 16 so far. Oh, we love graphic novels. 3 5 stars. Yay. Leaning to 5 stars. Yes, the 5-star manifestations. Audiobooks help me. Yes, yes, for sure. One book at a time. So are you guys one book at a time readers? Kendall, obviously not. She's juggling over here.
Most of the time I try to just do one book at a time.
I'm usually reading at least 3.
Oh, okay.
I get bored easily, so.
I usually am only reading one at a time, but this year apparently I just threw that out the window.
Yeah, I'm one book at a time. The kind of an exception is I'm reading this little book, Tiny Nightmares, and it's a collection of horror flash fiction. So the stories are literally like 2 and 3 pages. They're like, I can't even tell you how many stories are in here. There's a lot. There's like, it lists all the stories there, lists more stories here. So I'm just reading like a few stories at a time, not like one a day, or I'm just reading some every once in a while. So I'm reading that. That's on my currently reading shelf. But other than that, one book at a time. 2 DNFs, late flying through the climax. Let's see. 2 DNFs this month. 3. The other feeling slumpy. Yeah. 0 DNFs. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Have an e-art for the office and physical audio for at home. That's nice. Well, I work from home, so I don't really have that distinction. Okay, so what was your favorite book that you read this month, ladies?
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay.
Are you excited?
I have no chill. Okay. I just finished this book today. And this is in a genre that I do not read a lot of. I haven't really found my footing in yet, but I think I have now. So my favorite book that I read this month is Buried in a Good Book by Tamara Berry, and it's a cozy mystery.
I love
I'm
that.
so excited. Yeah, I literally knew from the moment that I started this book, I was like, I'm already getting 5-star feelings. I'm going to be so disappointed if it's not, but it was amazing. So, okay, let me tell you what it's about. I'm going to get ahead of myself. I'm so excited. Like, this right here alone should be like, okay, I need to run and go pick up this book because you all need to. So, this is a story about a woman named Tess, and she is a best-selling thriller author. And she's a single mom right now. She has a daughter named Gertrude, and they are kind of having a rough time because she's recently gone through a divorce. Dad's not being a good dad. He's not in the picture, hasn't talked to Gertie for like 6 months. So she's like, we need a break. She's also struggling to write her next novel. So they go out to her late grandfather's cabin in Okanogan County, Washington, which is also like Bigfoot country. And so they go out there, and she's joking with her daughter about how, like, literally the first sentence of this book says there are at least 3 dead bodies in there. And it's like her joking with her daughter saying, like, the cabin looks like there could be dead bodies in here. Well, all of a sudden there's this explosion. And when the explosion happens, these fish start raining out of the sky, as well as an arm, like a human arm. And so then the story goes on from there. She is thrown into this murder investigation. And what's really funny is she's working with a sheriff who looks exactly to a T like the detective that's in her thriller series. And the banter between the two of them is like the best. I laughed so much with them. It was amazing. So it's got that in there. It's got twists and turns. It's got Bigfoot sightings. There's a little old granny that loses her cat, and she is just determined that these police people are going to help her find her cat, even though they're like, it's just a cat, lady. He'll turn up at some point. But yeah, it was so good. Every single second of it, not a dull moment. 5 out of 5 stars. Everybody needs to read this book. Okay, I'm done.
I love that for you.
So I have a question. I also am not a huge cozy mystery fan. So what about cozy mysteries normally kind of turn you off of them that this one just did differently? Or
Well,
was
I've
it
only read 4 so far. I think this is my 4th. So I read, what is that book that Cozy Hollow read?
In a
Kindle,
Company of
help me.
Witches.
That one. And
Mhm.
I liked it okay, but it wasn't my favorite. It was just okay for me. And I was like, oh no, maybe I don't like cozies. And then I read Spells and Shelves, which is a witchy one. And I like witchy books, but I didn't like that one. And I read Curse the Day, which that was actually my first cozy by Annabelle Chase. It felt like Halloween Town and like things of my childhood, basically, is why I liked it. But it was still just 4 stars. So I really wasn't sure. I think I just need more plot and more excitement in my books. And this has elements, I feel like, of a thriller in it. It's not thrilling the whole time. It's not like a thriller. But to me, it's more just like a murder mystery versus there were definitely some things in here that weren't cozy. There was blood and descriptions of a scene where they found a body that was definitely not cozy. So I would say that definitely gave it a different element. And maybe that's why I liked it. I don't know. I just felt like there was something going on all the time.
Okay.
So
Very intrigued.
try
Yeah.
it. Just try it.
Yeah, I definitely added it to my TBR. So, and then added to my
Yeah.
TBR. And then just added it to my TBR. What about you, Elise? What was your favorite read?
So I think Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel.
Yay, that's so good.
So, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know that one, it's sci-fi. It's also very literary, which is interesting. I don't typically like literary, but it spans like from, I think the year is 1912 to like 2401. And it follows different timelines for different people. And throughout the story, you kind of start to find out that somehow these storylines are kind of intertwined a little bit. And I think ultimately it just blew my mind. And I love when books do that. So for me, that's almost always an instant 5 stars.
Have you read anything else by that author and have you liked it?
I loved Station 11. I did not like The Glass Hotel.
Okay. Because as you know, Sea of Tranquility is on my February TBR. I'm very excited about it because I kind of started reading sci-fi last year. That's one of those genres that I was exploring. But I did read Station 11, and despite all the hype, I thought it was okay. Like it was good, but I wasn't like blown away by it, or I didn't love it as much as other readers seem to have. And I didn't read the Glass, whatever it's called. So I was like, oh no, how's it going to compare? But I'm excited. And it's like a weird, short little size. And it's got big margins. And I'm like, I think I can get through this pretty quickly.
Yeah, I read it in one sitting.
Nice.
It's actually cool because there are bits from Station 11 and The Glass Hotel that are in Tranquility.
Interesting. Okay. I wonder if I'll be able to pick out the Station 11, bits. What about you, Kendall? What was your favorite?
Mine was How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix.
I think a lot of people read that this month.
Yeah, a lot of people. I kind of jumped on that bandwagon when I saw a lot of people reading it. But for anybody who doesn't know, it is following these 2 siblings that their parents died in the accident, and they are having to deal with like the repercussions and get everything cleared up with their house and stuff. And their mom was really into puppets and dolls and weird stuff like that. And so there's a lot of like creepy aspects of it, and it was just different. And I think I liked it because I like when a horror book can scare me, and dolls are not my favorite kind of thing. I don't like them, and that one made me a little like, if I see a doll, like I don't want to get near it. So
Y'all,
I really
she
enjoyed that
literally
one.
has Funko Pops lined up in front of her bed, and she was like, I don't think I can sleep in front of these anymore.
I was like, y'all are getting sold, all of you, in the morning.
I love that. And it's funny that you mentioned, I also read that this month. The publisher sent it to me, but I read that. And then, the plot of it is like the siblings go home to clear out their parents' house to sell it. That's the same plot of another book that I read this month.
Oh, is that the same plot?
Obviously this one is not horror. This one is like a romance, but it's about this girl. Her brother still lives in the town where the parents, where her dad is, but her dad had died, had a heart attack in a grocery store, and she is going from wherever she is to like Florida and to clear out. She's staying in the house to clear it out. And she meets the neighbor and it's like a romance and stuff. But yeah, I was like, literally, why am I reading? Like, you're clearing out your parents' house to sell it, like 2 books. I just thought that was so interesting. But yeah, I also, the little rhymes and the little things, I was like, woo!
Yeah.
𝒑𝒂𝒏𝒊𝒏𝒈.
Yeah,
No,
that audiobook.
yes.
The audiobook was so scary.
Oh,
I was
gosh.
like, there were literally, I love when I have a book that there are certain times I have to close the book and I'm like, okay, that's enough for today. We're going to put you down until tomorrow because I literally cannot handle it. And I had to do that like a few times with that book.
Oh, I love that. So my favorite, I'm just gonna go with 2 because I had a reread this month. This was my first book that I read this year. It's been my favorite for a long time, or one of my favorite Colleen Hoovers, I should say. But it's been a few years since I've read this, and loved it the first time, loved it the second time. But I read this one again because I wanted to read this one, and I know a lot of people have mixed feelings on this one. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. So, I mean, I would recommend, like, even if you were hesitant to go into this one, I would still do it because I thought it was great. The first book deals a lot with domestic abuse and stuff like that. So it is a very hard topic to talk about, but I feel like if you've been there, you'll feel very seen in this book. And then this one is, it ends right where it picks up right where this one ends. It's not okay. All of a sudden it's rainbows and sunshine and everything's beautiful and wonderful. There's a lot of happiness and hope in this one, but it also if you're in a situation where you've been abused mentally, physically for a while, it doesn't just go away. So, it tackles it kind of again in a different way. And I also felt very seen in this one. So I loved both of these, but tragic story. Last night before Jordan's birthday sprint, Jordan, one of the reasons why I was late is I had a full glass of red wine on my desk and I spilled it all over my books. So I have to repurchase these now. So that's fun. But yeah, I'm glad Jesse was like, well, at least you read them before you spilled the red wine on them. I was like, true.
True.
So those are our favorites. Did you do any rereads this month? Are you rereaders typically?
Yeah, I did have a reread, and I said I wasn't going to talk about it, but I already have. So, okay. So I reread The Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society by Marianne Schaefer and Annie Barrows. Wow, that's a mouthful. This was the book that got me back into reading like 4 years ago. So it has a very special place in my heart because I have very fond memories of reading this book. It is historical fiction, and I don't read a lot of historical fiction. It is also an epistolary novel. It's completely written in letters, and I'd never read that format before. The characters in the story really gripped me. Essentially, it's just about this book club that formed during World War II because there was a group that was caught out after curfew, and they said, oh, well, we just lost track of time. We were doing this book club, and they formed the book club after the fact because they didn't. That was just their lie. And this woman ends up getting in contact with these people from Guernsey and writes letters back and forth between the people in the society. There's also a love story element, and it is just a really sweet story. I gave this book 5 stars the first time that I ever read it. And I'm really sad because this is exactly why I do not like to reread my favorites, because I only upon reread would give it 3 stars because I was a little bored and I would have DNF'd it probably if I didn't remember loving it so much. And that just breaks my heart. The movie's really good though. I would say if you don't really want to trudge through a historical fiction, just watch the movie, but it breaks my heart and it makes me scared to reread any of my favorites because this just doesn't hold up. But still has a special place in my heart and will still remain on my shelves because it was still the book that got me back into reading, but my taste has evolved and changed since then. So.
Yeah.
I did not reread anything. I don't typically. I guess for 2 reasons. One, because I am nervous of, being a little disappointed the second time around. But also I feel like I I don't want to spend time reading books I've already read. I'd rather read something new. But hopefully later this year, Lena and I will be rereading The Time Traveler's Wife. I have actually reread that one, but it's been years and years. So I feel like my taste may have changed since then, but hopefully not.
Yeah.
I like to reread books, especially ones. There are certain ones that I know that if I reread them now, I'm still gonna like them. Um, but it is interesting to try to reread books that I've read like a few years ago and see how my taste has changed since then. Because that lets me know kind of what I'm looking for now with my reading. So
Yeah, that
haven't read
makes a lot of
any,
sense.
haven't reread any yet, but I do plan on rereading stuff later on.
Nice. Yeah, I'm a rereader typically at the beginning of the year. Like I said, I like to reread a favorite. So I did that. And then I also reread Verity. Keisha told me that she was going to read Verity in January. And I was like, you know what? I'll buddy read it with you because I had only read it initially when it came out. And so I reread this one and I gave it 5 stars the first time, gave it 5 stars the second time. But I read this book the first time before a lot of people did. I think I read it like right at its release, and there wasn't like a team manuscript or team letter or anything like that. I didn't have that many people to talk to about it. So I feel like a reread was kind of necessary anyway. So now that it's like more fresh in my mind and I was able to talk to Keisha about it and talk about certain things, it was just a really good rereading experience for that one. Let me get through some of these comments. I feel like I'm so behind on comments. Yeah, What Lies in the Wood by Kate Alice Marshall. I remember Jesse loved that one. I cannot wait to read it. We Spread by Ian Reed.
Oh, I can't wait to read that one.
I love that for you, Lena. A tie between Amari and the Knight Brothers and Wistress, but I think Amari just might a smidge better. Hotel on the Corner of Bitter and Sweet. I do not know that book. Have any of you heard of that?
Sounds familiar, but I don't recognize.
Yeah.
Kendall, are you going to look it up? I saw her down there.
Let us know. 2 books, a longer book, and then a quicker mystery measure. Yay! Yep. Add it to your TBR. Faves were
Yes.
Lost in the Moment Found, All the Dangerous Things, and How to Sell a Haunted House. Yeah. Nice. Yep.
Yay.
Outlines by Dennis E. Taylor, my new favorite book of all time. And I just finished Earthside, the follow-up to Outland, and gave it 4.50. Science fiction at its best. Cool. I'll have to look that up before I do. And Dead Voices were my
Dead
favorite.
Sorry, y'all know I love that series.
You do. I mean, you got us all to read it, so
Yeah.
it's all thanks to you. That another book wasn't your
I wonder what she's talking about.
Take My Hand by 𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒔. Runner-up is All the Dark Places by Parlato. Yay! I have that on my TBR as well. Okay. Ooh, Puppets and Dolls. Count me out. No, ma'am. Oh, yeah, I liked it too. I gave it 4. How to Sell a Haunted House. I think you'll like it, Angel. The audiobook was so good. I don't know. It hasn't really sunk in yet. Any thoughts on that, ladies? Have y'all read that book?
I haven't read it, so I have no thoughts.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I like Blake Lively.
I do too. I mean, I'm going to give her a chance. I mean, I'm going to watch it regardless. I don't care who they cast. I was going to watch it regardless.
Yeah.
But I do like Blake Lively, so we'll see. I enjoyed Starts With Us. Ends With Us and Starts With Us. Yes. Yes, I agree
hilarious.
with you.
I can see that.
Yeah. Maybe she'll do both. Yeah, that's what I did. So I know that It Starts With Us came out last year, but I was like, you know what? I need to reread. So that I just saved it for this year, and I was so happy that I did. I think you will be too. Reread Verity. Harry Potter. Yay. Nice. Is that still going, Kendall?
It was, but we put a hold on
It was. It was.
It was. But it's too
been a
much
busy
right
month.
now. Yeah, and it's just I'm not in the mood for them at this moment.
So we've got to pause, and
yeah,
then
it will be
it'll
back,
reconvene.
but yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, yeah, Jesse always rereads. Comforts.
I'm not reading that bonus chapter.
Yeah, I'm not reading the bonus chapter. Yeah, I think you'll both love it. I'm putting those vibes out there for you guys. Yeah, I think there's always some exceptions. Yes, they definitely are. The Harry Potter books, they just like they get bigger, and I'm like, that's why I've only read the first 3. I've stopped there.
I got through like half of the 4th one because I was trying to binge read them, and I was like, it's not that I don't like the story, and I mean, I'd watched all the movies, so I kind of knew at least the gist, but I just got tired of it and wanted something new. So Kendall, I totally get not being in the mood.
Yeah, it just gets kind of a lot. You're like, okay, we need to move on to something else, be in a different world. So we talked about our DNFs. Have you read any new authors this month that maybe you want to check out some other books by them now because of like what you read this month?
Yep. Colleen Hoover. Who am I?
We don't know anymore.
Like, I don't even know.
For real.
This is Keisha's evil twin talking. Keisha's stepped out for a moment because I don't know why in the world I like this because it has everything I don't like in books, but here we are. So, yeah, I had never read a Colleen Hoover before Verity, and everybody told me that I should. Well, did everybody tell me to read Verity? No, I think everybody told me not to read Verity, and I was like, no, I want to read Verity because it's the thriller. And I think because this is her thriller, that's why I could deal with the nasty smut that was in this book because it was nasty. But didn't get used to it a little bit. I also don't know why. And I'm wondering now if I can handle it more. But this has a lot of triggers. So I would highly recommend, especially looking on StoryGraph, because it basically lists every trigger that there is on StoryGraph for this book, it seems like. But some of the things that bothered other people in this book did not bother me, which what does that say about me? I don't know. Maybe I don't have a soul. But the only thing that really bothered me was the language and the smut. But otherwise, I love this story. I thought it was amazing. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, I definitely want to read more of her books. So I don't know what I'll read next. I think Layla probably, because Elise and I have talked about reading Layla together. So
good. Also, if you guys have not seen her vlog of reading Verity, you have to go watch
it's wild.
You have to go watch it.
For me, I had to write it down because I didn't remember their names. The only 2 new authors I read were Bonnie Garmis for Lessons in Chemistry and then Ernest Cline for Ready Player One. I don't think I'll read more Ernest Cline. I liked it just fine. I wasn't like blown away. I don't even think I'm going to read the sequel, but I did like Bonnie Garmis. I don't think she has any other regular novels out to my knowledge, but if she does come out with more, I would definitely pick it up.
Nice.
I read my first Shauna McGuire book this year in the Wayward Children series.
Did you read the first book?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I really want to pick some more up from her. And I also read a cozy mystery by Kate Lansing called Killer Chardonnay, and it was literally one of my favorites, and I absolutely loved it. It does a lot of descriptions about like wine and stuff like that, and it has a really pretty setting in Colorado, and it also has like a little romance mixed in with it. So I really want to keep reading that series.
Is that the first one in the series, the Killer Chardonnay?
Yeah. I think she has 3 out, and then she stopped writing them in 2021, but she's going to be releasing her 4th one this year. So
okay, fun. Yeah, I might have to check that one out. Maybe that will redeem my wine spill. So I have a couple of new authors that I read. So I read a cozy mystery, Olivia Black. This is the first
I can't wait to
in
read
a series. And this was so much fun. I was a little hesitant in the beginning because it's like you're following like some sisters, and I really want a cozy mystery that follows one main protagonist. And so it did. And I was like, okay, thank goodness. But it's like a record shop / coffee shop. And I just loved it so much. And so I definitely want to continue in this series. It's set in Texas, like a small town. And it's like they're opening the record store, and they find at the end of the grand opening, they find a body in the supply closet, and the victim is clutching the uncle's business card. So obviously he's like the main suspect. And so he ends up going on the run, which makes him look even more guilty. But then all of his like nieces are like, no, our uncle would not kill somebody. So they have to figure out who done it. So it was really, really fun. And I flew through it. So I definitely want to read, continue in that series. And then, like I was saying earlier, I read Love in the Time of Serial Killers, which I know a lot of people said that, like, I don't know. I haven't heard too many people talking about it, but the people that I have said it was good in the beginning, it was good in the end, it kind of lulled in the middle. But I actually really related to the main character in this, oddly enough. I don't know what that says about me, like, because I think the character is kind of unlikable. But so I was like, oh, am I coming to terms with myself? Am I having a moment? But I really did like it. And I mean, was it a perfect, rom-com or book? No, I rated it 4 stars. But she is coming out with a new book this year. It's like something about Cold World, like With Love from Cold World. I always mess up the title when I say it. So I'm going to read her new book that's coming out this year. And then I also read The Lost Girls of Willowbrook by Ellen Marie Wiseman. And this is historical fiction, which, who am I? Thanks to my friend Lena. I rated that one 5 stars as well this month, and I really liked that one. But that one was just really eye-opening, and I really liked her writing. And so Lena sent me what
There
she
you
left
go.
behind. So I haven't read this one yet, but yes, it's on my TBR. So I'm definitely going to be reading more by her. So thank you, Lena. Did you read any like new genres or genres that you don't typically read? Anything outside your comfort zone? Keisha, well, we know Verity was outside your comfort zone. So like,
Yeah,
I don't even know
that
where we're going
one
with this with
and the
you.
cozy, but that one and the cozy were, but I'm trying to pick different books and fill in with all the books that I read. So I don't read a lot of fantasy, but Kendall was just talking about the Wayward Children series, and this is her most recent release. And I will say that this is totally a me thing. When I first started this series was when I first started my booktube channel, which was in 2019. And since then my reading taste has evolved. And I do still think that her writing is like she is a master storyteller, hands
Mhm.
down. So good at it. And I love the stories, but not the same way that I used to. So like I like some of her earlier books better. They were my favorites. And I do still think this was good. It did make me tear up at one point too. So I did still give it like 4.5 stars, but this is just not my typical read anymore. That probably
Mhm.
makes no sense, me saying that and then saying I gave it 4.5 stars, but I also rate a little bit off of literary merit too. So that's why. But yeah, this would be my, like, I don't read a lot of fantasy, and that's fantasy. So
Nice.
For me, I think I typically, like I said, I don't really gravitate towards literary. But so far this month, according to Storygraph anyway, I've read 3 books that qualify as literary, but that kind of showed up as its secondary genre.
Mhm.
So there was Sea of Tranquility, which was a sci-fi literary, and then Lessons in Chemistry and Daisy Jones and the Six, which are historical literary. So I guess I think maybe if anything, that just tells me as long as it's not the primary genre, I can do literary. So that was very eye-opening for me.
What did you think about Daisy Jones and the Six?
Okay. So at first, at first I was like, there are so many people, there's so many drug use. Like, what is this? But eventually it clicked and I loved it. I absolutely
Yay! I'm so
Yay.
happy because I love that book so much. And I know a lot of people don't, especially if they just read it physically, because it is just a lot of
Yeah.
characters. It's just the whole book is just a big interview.
Yeah.
It's like you're sitting down with the Rolling Stones magazine, they're asking you questions, and it's just all these people. But I loved it so much.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm so glad you liked it. What about you, Kendall?
Um, I'm kind of not, I mean, I'm kind of sticking to what I'm normally sticking to, but I'm trying to get more into just the genres that I introduced to last year that I really love. So I'm trying to make sure I read more of like horror and cozy mysteries, which are like the opposite of each other, but um, I really liked the ones that I've read last year, so I'm gonna try and make sure I read more of those this year.
Nice. So, like I said, I read historical fiction. I also read Guernsey, which also this book got ruined by the wine.
Oh
But I don't care so
no.
much.
I know you
about
don't
the
care.
wine.
yeah.
I was about to say, I know that one's fine. That was gonna go anyways. She was like, Keisha, I would have put this down if I wasn't buddy, because we buddy read each other's like rereads. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, okay.
Gotcha.
So I talked a little bit about this last night, and I'm leaving this unrated. I did not rate it on Goodreads or the Storygraph, and I'm not going to. I'm leaving it unrated because I would not have ever picked up this book if it weren't not for Keisha saying, "Hey, Gwen, you need to read this book." I don't read a lot of historical fiction. Reading, the back of this, I'm not even interested in the story at all. I did like that it was told in letters, but because of that, there's a lot of characters, and I get confused very easily I get bogged down. I don't get confused, but I just get bogged down with the characters because I feel like I read a lot of, mysteries and thrillers, and I feel like if I don't remember the character's name, when they get to the who done it at the end, I'm going to be like, who was that person? So in any book that I read, I am always like hyper fixated on the characters so I don't miss any details that could happen later on in the book. And so there was just a lot of characters. The first half was really, I was just like, Keisha, for real, are you really making? But I pushed through this, and it was so funny because she was like, oh man, I made you push through Guernsey, so that means I'm going to have to push through Verity no matter what. And I was like, yep, that's what it means.
And
she
I
ended up
did
loving
push
it
through.
anyway.
Yeah.
But the second half was better. I did like this like found family trope that it had, and I did like the love story that was happening and all of that. But it's just not my sort of book. I would have never picked it up had it been for that circumstance. So, I mean, I don't want people to be like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't like this book. It's so great."
It's just
That's because it's
taste.
a genre,
Yeah.
like,
Personal
love
taste.
that sort of book. I don't love that sort of book. And then also I picked up a nonfiction. I picked up Cultish by Amanda Montell. I do read nonfiction, but not like on the regular. So I read this, and mentioning last night from Jordan's thing where we were like, "Oh, do you write in your books and stuff like that?" Yep. Pen, write in my book. So just all through it, I was more pen right here in my book. I needed it. So, yeah, and I really, really enjoyed that. I got a lot out of it. I liked the first half a little bit more than the second half. It talks about the language of cult like things. It talks more about like real life cults in the beginning, and then towards the end, it talks about like MLMs and like other trendy brands and stuff like that, and how they use language to, I don't know, reach out to people and stuff like that. But it was a very interesting read, and I will be using that as my research for a future podcast episode. Did you participate in any reading events, challenges, or readathons, and what did you read for them?
Yep. So New Year, New Reads.
Yay,
readathon.
Gabby!
It was hosted by Gabby, me, Gwen, and Summer. So that was like, gosh, that feels like ages ago.
It does.
But yeah, so I read 3 books for that. One of those was the Shauna McGuire book. I also read a graphic novel. I read Map Makers and the Lost Magic by Cameron Chittock. I don't know how to say that name. And Amanda Castillo. It was 3 stars. It was cute. Like the artwork in it was cute and everything, but it wasn't like a favorite. So that was, and it's fantasy, but that doesn't mean anything. But I don't typically like that as much. And then I also finally read The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon, because I was supposed to read this last year and I did not. And I ended up giving it 5 stars. It is different than her other books. I felt like it wasn't as atmospheric to me personally as her other books have been. But I would rate it like, I've read not all of her books, but most of her books, and I would put it under The Winter People, which is my favorite. So I think, anyways, I don't know. I could change my mind 6 months from now, but it was really good. I did really like it, and I loved how it ended. I feel like some people were like, no, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, I mean, it wasn't a yes thing, but neither was Verity, but I liked that one too. So. But yeah, that's what I read for that readathon.
I tried to participate in the New Year, New Reads readathon. It didn't go as planned. I had such high expectations for myself. I was going to do a vlog for it, but no. The only book on my TBR for that I did finish was Ready Player One. So
Nice.
I was participating with reading with Jordan Wistress for her January book club pick, and I am not hard DNFing it. It's one that I'm soft DNFing and just stopping and putting down, and I might pick up, but I have to sit and think with it for a little while before I make a final decision.
Yeah, I understand that. So I did a couple of fun things. So I'm doing a 12-month reading challenge like on my podcast. So I read Just Married by 𝒂𝒏𝒏𝒅. This is about a married couple that goes on they've been married for like maybe 6 months, and then they finally go on their honeymoon to this like secluded cabin in the woods. I flew through it. Her books are short and fast paced. I also interviewed the author and got to talk to her, and that was just it was amazing. That episode goes live tomorrow. I cannot wait for people to listen to it because she is so down to earth and bubbly and fun. And she like not only talked about her new book, which releases on Tuesday, but she spilled the beans on a book that is not talked about anywhere yet that's coming out in February. And I'm just like, you dropped this information on my podcast. Like, it was amazing. So yeah, I read that for that. And then for Jesse's book club, Sleep When I'm Dead, I read the Off the Deep End by Lucinda Berry. And then on her live show, she actually had the author on, and that was a surreal experience because I literally went from my interview with the author to her interview with the author, and it was just all in one night, and it was just like crazy bizarre. And I was like on a high the next day. So that was really amazing. Didn't love this book. It's not my favorite by her. And I feel so bad that a lot of people picked this up as their first Lucinda Berry book, and it was like not as good as her typical books are, in my opinion. But after hearing her talk about it and talking about it with Lena and Jesse, I came to appreciate it a little bit more, but not too much more. But my favorites by her are The Perfect Child and Saving Noah. I would probably recommend The Perfect Child over Saving Noah because I think it's less triggering, but they're both super dark. And then of course I did the New Year New Reads with all of my besties, and some of the things that I read for that, I read this old was it in the 90s? It felt like it was in the 80s, but when was this book? It was written in 2000, but it feels like it was written in the 80s, like literally. But it was pretty interesting, and it was pretty long. This is one of the ones that was over 400 pages. And so I read this, read some other things that I've already talked about, but I just feel like I had so much going on in January to keep me like interested and engaged with the community, which is always like my favorite part. Let me get through some of the comments. I'm sorry, guys. Sally Hepworth, The Soulmate Was So Good. Colleen Hoover, Nadine Brandis.
What's the author?
Yeah.
Okay. Loving Verity, Warning Marco. Sophie Sullivan this month, and I do want to read her other books. Tennessee Telly was new to me. Glad you found them. Check out, yeah. Co-host books are definitely a lot to handle sometimes. I like Verity. It's such a good one because it was a thriller. Yeah. More Jennifer McMahon. We love that. So happy for you. Every Hearted Doorway. Be Sure is tattooed on my wrist because I love them so much.
I love the Be Sure. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cute. More Lucinda Berry. Yes. Frida McFadden. Nice. Bailey Cates. Cozy mystery author. Brownies and Broomsticks. Yeah. The Willow Book Bandwagon. Historical fiction, The Tobacco Wives by Myers was one of my January books. Nice. Lost in the Moment. Yeah, I think I've only read the first 4 books of that series, but I have one to read. Or maybe I've read the first 5. I don't know. I'm confused. But I do need to catch up on that series. American Kingpin. Yes. And it was so good. Yes, Jesse. Buried in a Good Book on Libby. I'll be starting it tonight.
I hope you love it.
That's so fun. I put it on my wish list and I want to read it this summer. Watched the movie of Potato Peel. Didn't read the book though. Yeah, I still need to. Hi, Eliza. I do want to watch the movie still, Keisha.
Yeah, we
I s-
need to because it is a lot better. Oh, I did not say that. Gosh, I used to not think it was better than the book, but now I do. Also, sorry for this distraction that wants me to pet her.
Oh my gosh.
Jovi.
I know, Jovi.
Look at
She's like, ma'am.
Oh my goodness.
Aw.
Nonfiction spare. Gwen's triggering people with the pen markings. I know.
Uh,
I mean, if it's not the wine, it's the pen markings. So
Wait on my book, honestly.
New Year, New Reads. Yeah, it was so much fun. Was it like that last year? New Year, New Reads. Yes. Read in the new year and the Who Done It readathon. Oh, I didn't hear about the Who Done It. I need
That's
more
fun.
information on that one. I wonder if it happens every year. Yes, the 24-hour readathon. That was, oh my gosh, this weekend, guys. I did a 24-hour readathon. And like Keisha jumped on my sprints, and Lena was on my sprints, and Jesse was on sprints. We were on sprints for over
5 hours.
5 hours.
It was the best.
It was so much fun. Yeah, I didn't
I
even
got lots of
mention that
reading
one.
done too. That's when I got a chunk of Buried in a Good Book done too. So
Yeah, so she was reading one book, and then we came back from sprints, and we were like,
Mhm.
"Oh, so how's it going?" And she's like, "Well, I switched books, and I'm loving it."
yeah,
So yeah, it was so much. I read all Rachel Harrison's books that I needed to read. So I read The Return, I read Cackle, and then I read The Veil, which is one of her short stories. But then there's another short stories that she's done, like a collection of 4 short stories. But the cover, talking about how to sell a haunted house earlier, it has like doll legs on the cover.
oh,
And I'm
Lord.
like, who? I don't know if I'm ready. But I think it's a collection of 4. So I'm going to have to, and it's only available on audio or ebook, which I don't really read ebooks. And I have a hard time focusing with audiobooks, only audiobooks sometimes. But
yeah.
it's Rachel Harrison. So I have to try. Yeah, sorry, it didn't click for you. I heard it's a little bit slow in the beginning for multiple readers, but they said like once it gets going, but not all books are for all people.
Yeah.
I answered in the comments.
Okay, good. Yep, the 12-month reading challenge. Yeah. That was just, it was amazing. My own book club. Oh my goodness. Bookish first bingo board for January. Okay, there's your answer. Jovi! Shout out to Jovi.
She's already laid down again now.
She's like, I got my scratch-ins. I'm good.
Yep.
Buried in a good book tonight after I finished my current book. Look at you, the influencer
I'm so
that you
excited.
are. Not sure if it's yearly, but it was done by Pages with Paige, and it was like Clue.
Oh, that's fun.
Fun. Okay, I'm gonna have to just look it up and check into that. Okay, so we're gonna do mini reviews of the first book that you read and the last book that you read this month.
Okay. I'm going to need hold on. I got to pull up my Instagram review because it's been a long time since I read this. So I want to
I
make sure I do
know.
it. Okay. Let me get back up here. Okay. So the first book that I read was The Younger Wife by Sally Hepworth. And Sally Hepworth is one of my new favorite authors. So I think she tops Jennifer McMahon, which I think is a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but she's a new favorite. So I read The Younger Wife, and so for those of y'all who don't know, Sally Hepworth is penned as a thriller writer, but do not go into her books expecting a thriller because they are very much more like domestic suspense type books. Not that they're not thrilling moments, but I feel like a lot of people go into them looking for what most thrillers give, and this is just not that kind of, I mean, it's fast paced to me, but not in the way a thriller would be, if that makes sense. But she does really well with like mental health representation too, as far as like giving you characters in a book that deal with things that you might not either know about or see in a lot of books. And that's what really makes me enjoy her writing too, because I feel like I'm learning something about people with different mental health disorders or disabilities, or what, depending on the book, what it is. This book had a lot. It's essentially the story of, there's a husband who's married to this woman. She gets Alzheimer's, and he decides that he's going to divorce her and marry a younger wife. And it's very frustrating. But it sounds like a horrible setup. But he has 2 daughters, and they're kind of going through this too. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of like what actually has happened in their family. I can't really say a lot about it without spoilers, but there is a lot of depth to the story. It was a 5-star read for me. Still not as good as The Good Sister was for me. That was the first book I read by her, but I still loved it so much. So yeah, I guess I didn't need this. I said, oh, I'm going to need my Instagram review, but I guess I really don't. Well, I guess technically I rated it 4.5 stars, but I think I'd rate it 5. See, this is where I don't know what I'm doing with my ratings. It's just, oh, there was a guy in here that is a love interest of one of the sisters, and he was such a cinnamon roll character, and I loved him so much. And the way that he was just patient with her, with like she deals with something also, and the way he was patient with her and understanding of her situation was just like the cutest thing ever. So that was definitely something to note. Also, I know you said quick, and I just like rant. So
No,
I'm done now.
that's fine. Angel wanted to know what's your favorite Sally Hepworth. She's an author that she wants to read this year.
The Good Sister. I would say anybody who wants to read her, start with The Good Sister. I mean, I've read her books, I think well, not publication order because I haven't read her backlist, but I read The Good Sister, The Mother-in-Law, and then The Younger Wife. So.
And then what was the last book? Oh, you finished on, or do you have another book you want to talk about?
So this isn't technically the last book that I read because I've already talked about all the other books and I haven't talked about this one. So I will be brief since you mentioned it. But I felt like, so Grady Hendrix has been an acquired taste for me. And so I didn't love the first book that I read by him, which was the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. But with each book I've read by him, it's gotten better. My Best Friend's Exorcism is my favorite. This one is not up to par with that one. I would probably give this one 3.5, and it sits more close to Southern Book Clubs. I did enjoy it though. I don't know. Am I changing my mind?
No.
Okay, I'm changing my mind.
Okay.
So the Final Girl support group was 4 stars. So I think this would probably be closer with that. I think most people don't like that one, but yeah. Anyways, I love this book. I loved that. I don't know, like the creepy doll aspect. Like my mom has a curio cabinet of porcelain dolls in the house, like that I grew up with, and that's what I was thinking of the whole time.
Oh my gosh.
So that, yeah, I don't know. I liked it, but I think just the unrealistic nature of the story at times was, or for me, was hard to get through. And there was definitely a lull in the middle where you get the brother's perspective for a short time. And I was like, I know this is important to the story, but can we just switch back to what we were doing before? Because it was just like, yeah. So, but it was still good. It wasn't a favorite. I'm just all over the place.
That's fine. I mean, you're reading. You read so many different genres, so many different like things.
I did. I really did.
What a wild month for you.
Oh, I know. Crazy.
So my first read of the year was The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. So this one, oh gosh, trying to remember. So dual timeline. It takes place in the present. So there's 2 best friends. They have a girls' trip to Italy. They stay at this villa. And back in the 70s, some rock stars stay at this villa and crazy things happen. There's parallels between the 2 timelines, which you learn more about as the story goes on. I don't know. Overall, if I recall, I think I ended up rating it 3 stars. And I've only read one other Rachel Hawkins.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah. Reckless Girls. I really enjoyed that. I only rated it 4 stars, but I did really enjoy it.
Okay.
Much more so than The Villa, unfortunately. And then my most recent one, I actually just finished this afternoon, was Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Reid.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, we already talked about that one. Rock stars, Rolling Stone interview, fun times.
Mm-hmm. I cannot wait for the show.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Like I'm so ready. I'm watching it with my patrons. The day it comes out, I can't wait.
I think I'm the only person on the planet that's uninterested in that storyline.
Yeah, I don't recommend it.
When I read that book, Daisy Jones, I literally read the book. Well, I read/listened because I had the physical book from Book of the Month, and then I also listened to it as well. And then I watched A Star is Born with Lady Gaga, and I cried in the book. I cried in the movie. Oh my goodness. I was like, take my soul. I just loved it so much.
Oh my gosh. Well, the first book that I read was Every Heart a Doorway by Shauna McGuire. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. Um, it kind of it says on the back of it that it's kind of like Girl Interrupted meets fantasy in a way, and that's why I watched that Girl Interrupted movie. Um, but I really do like it. It's got very little undertones of like mental health issues in it, and I really, really like that aspect. Um, and then the last one that I read was Killer Chardonnay. I gave that one 5 stars, so I really enjoyed that, and I've already told y'all what it was about. So,
Nice. Well, my first book was It Ends With Us, which that was my reread. But the last book that I read is Cackle by Rachel Harrison. And I love her writing so much. And I can't explain. It's kind of like Shay Earnshaw. All I can say is like it's atmospheric with Shay Earnshaw. Like, I don't know what it is. There's just something like comforting. And it almost, Grady Hendrix is like the king of like funny horror to me. But she also has that a little bit. But in all of her books, she also weaves in a little bit of like feminist themes, which, to be completely honest, are usually not my favorite because I think authors are way too heavy handed with it. Like they're like slapping you in the face with it. And I'm like, that's how you feel. Like, let me make my own decisions about how I feel about it now. But I feel like she does it in a subtle way. And I love it so much. And this one was just, so this is about this woman named Annie who her longtime boyfriend kind of decides that we're really more just like roommates and friends at this point. It's time for us to go our separate ways. And they were living together in New York. So she had to find a different place to live. She had to get a job and she moves to like upstate New York in this like small town. So she moves there and it's this really cute, quaint town. And there's this really beautiful woman that kind of befriends her named Sophie. And it's like they're instant besties. So they start hanging out a lot together. And as they're going to town to like, they go to like this farmer's market, there's like this coffee shop and stuff. Everybody seems like very different when she's with Sophie as opposed to when she's just around those people by herself. And she's like, everybody seems really wary of her. Like, what's going on? Should I be concerned? Like, what's going on? And yeah, it just kind of like goes from there. You're trying to figure out, well, is there something to be worried about with this woman named Sophie? But it's also the bigger part of the story is just like Annie is obviously devastated over the relationship with Sam ending, and she's kind of just hung up on him. And Sophie's trying to like tell her like, you don't need no man, you can do this by yourself, and we don't need men to make us happy and stuff like that. But she's like, but I loved him. And so yeah, it was just really good. Like, it wasn't my favorite. My favorite is still Such Sharp Teeth. That was the first one that I read. And then, like I said, I read The Return as well. I rated that one 3 stars. And I think this one is a 4 stars because I think I liked it a little bit more. Well, it's kind of hard because the first part of The Return, I really, really, really liked, just like I was liking Such Sharp Teeth. But the ending kind of went in a direction that I didn't really like, and it kind of ruined it a little bit for me. Whereas this one, it was a little slow in the beginning part, but then the ending was really like, okay, cool. That was so awesome. So yeah, but I love her writing. I love her characters. And I like the subtle themes and stuff that she weaves in and out of the already bigger plot and stuff like that. So
I still need to read that Cackle because I still haven't. I was supposed to read it last year and I still haven't.
yeah, it's a slower paced story, but I think it's worth the read, obviously, because I love her writing. Any books that you're still working on? Kendall, I'm looking at you. Any books that you're still working on or I'm currently reading?
Okay, so before we went live, I read a little bit more of this to decide if I was officially going to DNF it or if I was going to keep trudging through it.
Trudging.
Well, maybe I'm not going to say trudging because Ninth House I was trudging through, which I soft DNF'd, which Elise is still reading and liking it. So,
Okay.
but A Wilderness of Stars by Shay Earnshaw. So I'm buddy reading this with Olivia, which I don't know if she's officially DNF'd it yet or not. I feel like she has, but I need to check with her and see. I really like Shay Earnshaw. I have read all of her books to date, and they have all gotten at least 3.5 or above stars from me. This one is a little bit different. It's more, don't even know what this is. It's set up where it's supposed to be like a fantasy. It's got a little bit of sci-fi and it also reads dystopian. But I'm 100 pages in and like nothing has happened. I'm like, what am I reading? But like the synopsis says it's about this girl named Vega who lives in this village with, well, she doesn't live in the village. She lives in a valley with her mom, and she is the last astronomer, which means that she is this person who can like follow the stars and potentially find this cure for people. Everybody has this thing called the consumption where they lose their hearing, lose their sight, and eventually they die. And so now it's up to her. She's like taking off now to try to find this architect or whatever to try to lead her in the direction she needs to go to kind of like save these people. But she hasn't even like, nothing's happened yet in this book. 100 pages in, she hasn't met the dude. Like the synopsis says that somebody sees, she has a tattoo on her neck that tells that she's the last astronomer or that she's part of this group of people, and that's very dangerous. So somebody sees that, she runs off, she's rescued by a girl named Cricket who leads her to Noah, a boy marked by his own mysterious tattoos. And that has not even happened yet 100 pages in, and this is only like a 300, well, I guess it's almost 400 page book, but like it's just, I don't know. But I read a little bit more and I'm going to try to continue reading it. But if I'm not done with it in the next 2 days, it's not it. So, and I'm sad to say that because I love her other books, but it's just, this is not her type of story to tell. So that's all I got to say
Okay.
about that.
That sounds really interesting. Actually, I have that. I got it from Book of the Month, but I didn't really know what it was about. And now I'm like, ooh, I want to
I mean,
read
it sounds interesting, but nothing has happened so far. So.
I am reading Ninth House. I started it today. I am really liking it. I'm 58 pages in. So I guess so far the gist is there's this girl, Alex, and she's at Yale University and she's kind of undercover. I'm not sure how that came about yet, but and I guess there's like these societies or secret societies, I guess. Okay, so I think I could be very wrong, but I think what happens is like one of these secret societies, they do experiments or surgeries on people, and that's supposed to provide like insight or premonitions to important events like
That sounds
the stock
interesting.
market and like crazy things like that. I'm not 100% clear on that yet, but so far I think that's kind of what's happening. And there's these creatures, I guess they're ghosts, but they call them grays. And most people, if they take this elixir, they can see these dead people, but Alex can see them without that. And I think that's why she was like recruited to join this secret bureau of something. So yeah, that's what it is so far. I'm super interested. I'm
You
loving
got
it.
more out of it than I did. I was like, oh, you're telling me with the last 50 pages what I was supposed to retain, but I couldn't tell you what I read. So,
Are you listening to it or just reading it?
I'm doing both. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, good. That's how I'm going to do that book as well.
It's long. It's like,
Yeah. I was like, I need the art because it's kind of outside my comfort zone, but I tried it before and I wasn't into it and I don't think I gave it a fair shot. So I repurchased it in hardcover because I was like, if I like it, I'm gonna want to get Hellbent and I'm gonna want to get the hardcover. I'm not gonna want to wait. And so I was like, I need the hardcover and there's no hardcovers anywhere except for at Barnes and Noble. So I had to order, and not even in the store. I had to like order it, so that's what I did.
I am in the middle of Throne of Glass right now, which is a young adult fantasy series that Sarah J. Maas wrote. It's the only series that I haven't read from her yet, and so far it's pretty good. It's keeping my attention. From what I've heard, people said to just keep going through the first book and then the series gets better. But it's basically following this girl who is a really good assassin in this fantasy world, and she ends up in this prison. She starts off in a prison, and then she's sought out by the king, and she goes to this this competition with assassins, and they're all trying to be the best assassin. I don't really know what's going on, but I'm in the middle of that one, and then I'm still in the middle of Mistborn, the first book. That one's a little bit more. It kind of feels like steampunk fantasy in a way. Um,
Interesting.
if you kind of like scientific things, I feel like you'll like that one a lot. They have allomancy in that, and they're drawing their powers from metals and different things like that. And you're following this 12-year-old girl, and she's getting help from these other people that are like building her up to be this Mistborn. So it's really good. It's just a lot to read. So
Yeah.
That's a big one, isn't it?
yeah, I
Yep.
literally am not even, I'm almost halfway through it, but I mean, it's only like 500 and something pages, but
Only I'm like, ugh.
but the writing is so tiny and the
Mhm.
words are so like you have to be paying attention. So sometimes like especially at night, I get sleepy when I'm reading and I'm like I cannot retain any of the information. So it's
Yeah.
hard to it's probably going to be like at least through February that I read it. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to let you know I did read Throne of Glass. I looked it up because I knew I read it. I read it in 2015. I
oh
rated
wow.
it 4 stars, but
Oh
I did,
You.
but I didn't continue on in the series. And I'm not,
yeah.
like I said, I'm not a fantasy girly, so I'm not going to. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to let you know I
Well,
did
I have
enjoy
hope.
that one.
God, good. I'm glad.
You're like, if a non-fantasy person can read it, then
Yeah.
I can get through it. So yeah, like I said earlier, I'm just kind of trudging my way through this. Just a few stories at a time. Some of like, anytime you read like a collection of short stories or like even a collection of poems or whatever, there's going to be some you like, some you don't, and I feel
Mhm.
like that's the same thing with this. I did read some. I like that. I feel like horror is such a good genre to do like short little stories from, especially like this, because it just leaves you like, I need more, but they just have a short little story to tell and maybe they don't have more to say. So there's weird things, there's more realistic things, and yeah, it should be interesting. So I'll continue reading that. Do you guys post monthly reading wrap ups on your channel? I do not. Obviously, this is my monthly reading wrap up.
And this is the
So,
best way to do it because it's always so
yeah,
fun.
no
Yeah.
editing. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is how I do it. And I do on my Patreon, I do like book reviews of all of the books that I read. But that's just audio, it's not a visual thing. But what about you guys?
I do. I was gonna say I do. Sorry, monthly reading wrap ups. Yeah, I do, and they are like honestly the best way for me to retain information that I've read about a book, or if I don't remember something that I can go back and look at those, which I can do that with Instagram too, because I typically post book reviews. But yes, and mine will be out not next Friday, but the next Monday, I think, because it was supposed to go out Friday, but I didn't film today because I decided to do what I wanted to do today, and I
Good
did
for
not want to film.
you.
Good.
So
So yeah, check out Keisha's channel. It's linked in the description box, so you'll be able to check out her reading wrap ups. You do them typically at the like beginning of the following month, right?
yeah, usually I'll do my TBR for that month, then I'll do the wrap up after that. So
Okay.
Yes, I do wrap ups as well. They are probably my least favorite to film and edit because the amount of time that I spend trying to sit there and rack my brain, trying to remember what the book was about, what I thought about it. This year, though, I did start a better reading journal, and I'm trying to take notes as I'm reading. And I did really good with that the first couple books. But then the last few, I read the book and then tried to take notes. So maybe next month. But so, yes, I do. They're on my channel.
Nice. Again, her channel linked in the description box. Go check her out.
I also do monthly wrap ups. They are also my least favorite thing to film. I hate having to listen to myself blab about stuff that I'm like, we know, we
We
know.
know this already.
Moving on, Kendall, moving along. But yeah, I do.
Nice. Again, channel linked in the description. Check her out. Yeah, I decided last year I did the monthly reading wrap up live shows like this because most of the books that I were reading were in other videos. Like I read them for New Year New Reads, and I already made a vlog of that, so I already talked to people about it. And then I was talking about it again, and I was just kind of like, I'm talking about, it gets bored. Like I know people like watching them, like like viewing them, but as the content creator, I was so bored. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I've got to think of another way. So this was my solution. And thank you guys so much for hopping on here with me today. So last question, are there any things that you're really looking forward to in February? It could be life, it could be books, it could be readathons, whatever.
I am looking forward to the X's and O's readathon, which Gwen is co-hosting. So Gwen, you could probably tell about it better than I could since you're like a part of it.
So Jessie came up with this idea for an X's and O's readathon, and it's going from February 3rd until the 8th. And you can either be a team X or you can be a team O, which is the better team because that's my
That's
team.
the team I'm on.
But Jessie, Lena, and Lauren are team X, and me and Summer are team O. And there's different prompts depending on what team you choose. There's a Discord channel. Go check out. Like I have an announcement on my channel, but so do all of the other hosts. And you can pick which team you want to be on. But it's going to be so much fun. There's going to be a buddy read. There's going to be a movie watch. We're doing like games and reading sprints and a whole bunch of fun. But it's going to be so much fun. And it's not, even though it's X's and O's, and it seems Valentine's themed with, the name of the readathon, and like one team is red team and one team is a pink team and all of that. You can really read whatever you want. Like we don't even care if you read the books to fit the prompts. We literally don't care. We just Jessie wants to build a community of people that are reading and talking about books. So that's why she wanted to do this readathon. But it is fun to, read what you want to read, try to fit the prompts. It could be a thriller, it could be a horror, whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I'm also going to try, because I did try last month and I failed, but I'm going to try to do Gwen's 12-month reading challenge for her podcast. And this month is to read a romance book adaptation. And so I'm going to butcher the name because I still haven't looked up how to say it, even though I've said it wrong 10,000 times. But when I was younger, I watched the movie Knights in Rodante or Knights in Rodanthe. I don't know how it's said. Does anybody here know?
Rodanthe, I think.
Rodanthe. Yeah. Okay. I've been saying it wrong, but y'all know what I'm talking about, by Nicholas Sparks, which I haven't read a Nicholas Sparks book since high school, and I've only read one, and it was A Walk to Remember, but I loved it. So I want to reread that or not reread it, read it for the first time and then rewatch that movie, because when I was a kid, I was like, oh, Richard Gere. And now I'm just like, oh my gosh, he was old enough to be your daddy, Keisha, like or granddaddy. But anyway.
But I mean, you're not wrong. So
I mean, he's still a nice looking man.
Still old enough to be your daddy.
I am also looking forward to the X's and O's readathon. Hopefully it'll work out this month. And I always forget about the year-long. So like Gwen, your year-long readathon, the buzzwordathon for Kayla, I always try to participate in those and I always forget about them. And then the other thing, I'm probably going to forget some people and I do apologize, but Elizabeth from Ponytails and Paperbacks, Rachel from, oh my gosh, I'm blanking.
Lovely.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, reads here.
It's like the person and you're probably like, what's their channel? I don't know.
Yeah.
And Jordan from Bookish Gem and a couple other people. I think we are buddy reading Magnolia Parks.
Oh, fun.
I'm excited for that.
That is very exciting.
Well, I'm also excited for the Team O's that I will be on.
Yay.
So I'm going to do that. I'm also trying to do a few different challenges where, like, I had 12 people recommend me 12 books to read this year. So I'm going to be reading another one of those. I don't know which one yet. I will find that out probably on February 1st. And I'm also going to do the Cozy Hollow book club pick, which is, I think, the Pride and Prejudice knockoff thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I've had that one on my TBR for a while now, so I want to get to that one.
Have you ever read the original Pride and Prejudice, like the book? You
It is,
have?
yeah,
Okay.
it's one of my favorite books of all time.
Oh, nice. I've never read it, but I do like the
Yeah.
movies.
I
I
was forced
love the
to read it in
movies.
high school, and I did not like it in high school, and I'm not gonna read it
But there's
again.
so many
That's
adaptations.
fair.
Like, there's not
That's
just
fair.
one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to X's and O's. Obviously, I'm co-hosting it, so I have to be excited, right? It's also my birthday month in February and
Woohoo!
Valentine's Day, so I love that. And then of course I'm doing another reading wrap-up live show at the end of the month, and it's going to be on February 26th. And my besties Jordan and Jesse are going to be on with me, so you'll be able to come back here next month, same time, same place, different guests. Anything else you guys want to share or anything before we head out and go through the rest of these comments?
No, I just love these. Thanks for
I
letting me
know.
crash too, because I was kind of like, man, I really want to do this. Like, yeah, I'll just add you on there.
I know, I loved it so much. But yeah, this is me and Kendall's first time. I was like, please let Kendall say yes.
And you did.
I
Yeah.
know. I was so happy. I was like, Keisha, I really want to ask Kendall. I wonder if she'll say yes. So thank you so much, Kendall. And
Yeah,
at
thank
least we've
you.
done reading sprints and stuff like that before. So I was like, please, I hope you still like me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think these are so fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, answering all the questions. I love this chat. It's going off about X's and O's. Team O's. All right, Lena, whatever.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Nicholas Sparks can take all my money.
I'm sure I'll love it.
That's funny. Team X 12-month challenge, nonfiction. Yes, I love that.
I need
I
to
like
try to
up
do
to
that.
student teacher. Oh, nice. I love that,
Oh,
Gabby. That's going to be
yay!
so good for you. I think you are going to feel so much better to have your own
Yeah.
vibe going on in your classroom. Because
Yeah.
I also did where I took over for a teacher and I was just like, oh, I do not like this.
Mhm.
Blackathon and read as many BIPOC romances in February as possible. That's very good goal. Yeah, so much fun stuff in February. Thank you guys so much. So I guess that's all for us tonight. Hopefully you guys will be able to hang out with me again in the future, but that's all for now.
Yeah.
Talk to everybody later. Bye.
Bye.